Yo, what's up, YouTube? How's it going, guys? Woohoo! All right, we're live. Hope you guys are doing well out there. It is Thursday, back home, back in Idaho, just back from my amazing trip to Sedona. I'll talk more about that in a minute. How's everyone doing out there? Hope you guys are enjoying yourselves, enjoying life. So, where to begin? Lots of exciting things going on. I don't know, just had an amazing trip to Sedona. I was there for 10 days. My favorite place in the world. I'm actually moving there next year, kind of lining things up so I can buy a house there. But life is good. Went to Sedona Cosmic Awakening, met some amazing people. Listened to Captain Randy Kramer, who was previously with the Secret Space Program, talk about some of his adventures on other planets, things like that. There's some interesting things going on in this world. Before we get into the Q&A, I just want to share a few things with this guy. So we're at a very pivotal point in our experience as human beings on this planet, and the truth is that we were born into an invisible prison. This society, this matrix that's controlling this planet is unnatural. It's very unnatural. And that's why things seem so chaotic to people in the world right now, is because we're at the end game of things, right? Certain powers that have been in power for a long time, they're losing their power. People are waking up. People are understanding what's going on, all this weird stuff. And we're at this kind of final act of desperation, which is why so much stuff's rolling out right now. Things feel so weird, but everything in reality is amazing. All right. There's amazing energies coming onto this planet right now. If you pay attention to the Schumann resonance, I have a friend who does a podcast on Schumann resonance. It's going off the scale. It's absolutely insane. Unprecedented levels of Schumann resonance, which directly ties to our consciousness, ties to our brain, our hearts, our perception of reality. So, but again, this point I wanted to make, we were born into an invisible prison. It starts in our childhood, our conditioning, right? How many of you had invisible friends when you were children? How many of you had this direct connection to worlds that we now, consider unseen, maybe imaginary, right? The truth is that we're all multidimensional. We're much more than, evolved from apes, right? We're much more than that. We have these powerful superhuman capabilities, but they've literally been conditioned out of us, programmed out of us. The schooling system in this modern world, it's a prison system. It's an enslavement system. You take a child who's highly energetic, they're connected to massive levels of creativity, joy, playfulness, just this bright glowing light. And then you force them to sit inside in a room 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, forcing them to remember facts, to express themselves solely from the left side of their brain, not learning, really learning intuition, artistic creation, individuality. What I'm trying to say here is that from a very young age, we were conditioned to be nothing more than robots, nothing more than to be, slaves in the system, right? And since many of us from our early teenage years, we started to shut down. We started to shut down our true light, our true selves, our true perception of reality, our imagination, our creativity, our massive human potential. We started to shut down so we could fit in, so we could be more like everyone else. Stop, playing with your invisible friends, little Jimmy. It's not real. And this is all just to prepare us to be slaves for the rest of our life, to work for, major corporations, to be someone else's employee. And again, this system of control, this system of dark forces that's kept us suppressed for thousands of years. And what's happening right now is this is all falling apart. You can do your own research and find out what's been going on this planet for thousands of years. Of course, censorship's at an unprecedented level, which is another indication that someone doesn't want you to know the truth. But what I'm really trying to get at here is that this is an amazing time. This is the time when things are completely transforming, and it seems very chaotic because it's not the end of the world, it's the beginning of a new world. And for the new world to begin, the old world has to fall apart. So yes, there's going to be continued chaos, there's going to be continued transformation. But when you focus on the positive side, when you focus on that which inspires you, that which makes you feel good, you can always create your own reality in your own immediate space. You can't control what's happening out there. We know what's happening out, in the other areas of the world. What you can control is the thoughts you have. What you can control is how you feel. How do you react to what's happening around you? What are you creating in your reality around you? What words are coming out of your mouth? What thoughts are you allowing to cycle through your brain, right? These are the things that you can control. And once you start to control these things, once you decide, I don't want to feel this way anymore. I want to feel love. I want to feel inspiration. I want to feel joy. I want to make my life the most amazing experience ever experienced by anyone. When you start to create this inner transformation, it starts to resonate out to the world around you. We begin within. We open our hearts. We process the traumas that have been passed down to us for, ancestor generation after generation, process all the bullshit we've been conditioned with, and remember our true authentic selves. And that, it requires having a daily practice, doing meditation, getting out into nature, reading books, developing your mind, developing your body. But right now, again, it really comes down to you doing your work, me doing my work, and having that vision. What do I want to create in this world? What do I want this world to look like? Okay, how can I take part in making that happen? What are you doing to make this world a better place? Are you just complaining about things? Are you focused on negative things, focusing on darkness? Or are you doing your part to change your mind state, change your body, focus on that which inspires, uplifts, and motivates you, and share that with the world? And again, each of us doing this within ourselves is going to completely transform this world. So anyways, guys, just little download and share it with you guys. And we'll get into the question and answer session here. So feel free to send your questions. Also, I want to say that, I tend to get a lot of the same questions when I do these. And, some people are probably tired of hearing me answer the same question a million times. So I might be a bit more selective about questions I have. But yeah, feel free to send in your questions. And I highly encourage you guys to, if you've never been to a sacred site, an energy vortex site on the planet, I highly recommend that you do this. Places like Mount Shasta, Hawaii, Sedona, obviously, where I just spent 10 days. Lots of these, these energetic hotspots on the planet. When you spend time there, it will literally transform you. It will activate these deeper, ancient aspects of yourself, this dormant capabilities, these dormant memories we have within our DNA. How to detox the body and Nofap at the same time. Okay, so I'm not a Nofapper. I'd never, have said I'm a Nofapper. My approach is a bit differently, but as far as sexual kung fu practice and detox, these things go hand in hand together very well. Because when you have an energetic practice like qigong, meditation, starting to clear out the energy channels of your body, create a new flow, bring in nature's qi, and let that flush you out, that will cause an energetic detoxing in your body and your mind. So in the beginning, that alone is enough. Of course, you can support this with, dietary detox, cleaning up your diet, avoiding, inflammatory foods, doing like colonics is an amazing practice to detox your body. You're only as healthy as your plumbing system. So a lot of people have like 30 pounds of shit in their large intestine. So you clean that out, it's going to massively help you, on a number of levels. So yeah, detoxing is great. You can do your own research on that. I'm not really a, nutritionist, but yeah, you can definitely do these things at the same time because again, the body, the mind, the patterns, these things are all connected. All right, what do we got here? Testosterone replacement therapy better than semen retention. The problem with this, though, is you're relying on something external, and this can actually cause your body to be unable to produce its own testosterone, right? It's an external fix. It's an instant gratification type thing. You're not learning how to do this with yourself. You're just taking a pill, taking an injection, and being like, okay, it's done. This promotes laziness, promotes instant gratification. And, again, it can make your body incapable of doing things. That's why I like the internal approach. I'm not really huge on toys and gadgets and external things because anything you can imagine, you can do within yourself, right? Obviously some development, but it's like, again, it's this instant gratification versus delayed gratification. Having a practice to master your mind and body to make the changes within instead of just taking a pill, instead of just sitting in front of your television getting, you know what I mean? It's this more holistic approach, I would say. But, to each their own. Hey, Jace, what's going on, brother? My brother at Cosmic Origins. What if you have low testosterone and semen retention doesn't help? There's many factors to this. One of the major factors affecting men's testosterone levels is toxins in the environment and stress levels. Actually, number one is probably stress levels. When you're stressed out all the time, when you're not sleeping enough, you live in the city, there's a lot of chaos going on. You can't sleep well at night. It's going to affect you many levels. So that's number one, is reduce stress in your life. Move out to the country if you have to. Change your circumstances. Quit your job that you hate so that you don't live, a life of stress and torture, really, right? We were talking about detoxing. So environmental factors also have a major impact on men's testosterone levels. There's so many toxic products that are, you go into a store, you go into like the household section, almost everything there's toxic. Chemical scenting things, in deodorants, in shampoos, soaps, body products, body sprays, things like that. These totally wreck your endocrine system, right? So anything that's like a chemical scent, it's going to mess you up, basically, right? Phytoestrogens in foods, you can do your own research on this, but there's so many factors affecting testosterone. So if you're experiencing low testosterone, low sexual vitality, then there's not one single thing that's probably going to do it for you. You have to look at all areas of your life. Are you sleeping well? What's your diet like? Are you putting toxic products in or on your body? Are you getting fresh air? Are you spending time out in nature? You have to address all these things. Semen retention is a great practice, but it's not a fix-all, do-all for everyone, right? It's a part of a holistic lifestyle. The raw vegan diet. All right, I'm not going to go into this. I spent a lot of time in other videos talking about diet stuff. Raw vegan diet, I tried it. It made me very deficient. I did everything you're supposed to do, all the supplements, whatever. It wasn't good for me. I lost 10 pounds. I was 6'1", about 130 pounds. This is not good. I was a string bean, right? Diet, I know it becomes a religion. There's no one size fits all diet for everyone, right? Do your own research, experiment. You should feel good. You should look healthy with the diet you have. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, Johnny Blaze. You've mentioned in the past you do gelking. When done correctly, did you notice any increase or size, or is it mainly for stronger erections? Okay, I'm no longer doing gelking. I know I made a video where I shared this technique a while ago, but I don't recommend gelking anymore. It's a dangerous practice. With gelking, you're forcing blood in the wrong direction through blood vessels in the penis. I did notice it gave me a gain in erections, but it was short-lived. It actually started to affect my erections negatively. So I don't recommend gelking. If you do gelking, there is kind of a variant you can do to make it more safe and more effective, basically, where you only put, okay, here's a penis, right? This is a penis. This bottom area of the penis, the corpus spongiosum, you want to push blood through it towards the tip of the penis. That's the safe direction. It's the top of the penis. If you force blood that way, you're going to have problems. The dorsal arteries are not meant to, move that way. So only place pressure on the bottom of the penis if you're doing gelking, and you'll feel this current of blood move through the spongiosum, through the dorsal veins, and that is much more beneficial. But I recommend, I'm saying this in every live video I do look up Angion method, Angion. Amazing method for penis blood vessel development. Whew. All right. Take a drink of water here. Let's take a breath. Whew. Breathe in the good chi. Release the demons. All right. Which training split do you do? I switched it up a lot, but recently I've been doing push-pull splits. Plus, I've been incorporating a new squat routine where I'm doing squats 3 times a week. So I go to the gym, so I'll do my push workout, bench presses, tricep extensions, things like that, shoulder presses. And I'll also do 20 rep squats. So 20 rep squats, this is amazing. I've been turned on to this, but basically it's like what you would normally be able to only do like 10 to 12 squats, that much weight. You do 20 squats and you breathe, it's intense. You're going to feel like you're going to pass out, but basically doing that 3 days a week on top of my other routine has been amazing. So yeah, push pull split. I'll do a leg day too. And I do squats, with my other workouts 3 times a week. Okay, here's a good question. I have a weak mind's eye. It's very difficult for me to do visual imagery. How should I combat this when attempting the microcosmic orbit and other practice involving visualization? Okay, very important point here. The microcosmic orbit should not be a visualization. I know there's a misunderstanding about this. If you're only working with internal energy practices from visualization, your results will be very limited. This requires Tingjin. Tingjin is absorbing the mind into the body. It translates as listening energy, basically. But you should not be visualizing microcosmic orbit. So don't worry about the fact that you're not visual. I'm not either. And when I was doing only visual-based practices, I was having very mixed results. So the microcosmic orbit meditation, for example, the latest version that I've shared on my YouTube channel, which is a fantastic version, really the past few versions I've shared, when I say, focus on this point, you're not visualizing that point, you're not seeing it, you're feeling it, you're anchoring your awareness there. You can think about the mind as like a liquid, and it fills the body like a sponge. Typically our mind's anchored in our head. Well, you can use that, sink that mind awareness down to these points. That's how you work with the orbit. I go in depth into this on my trainings, my Multi-Orgasmic Man 12-week course, my Immortal Energy Arts Online Academy. But basically, it's a feeling. You're absorbing the mind into the body, not visualizing. If you only do visualization, it's going to be limited. So, definitely with the microcosmic orbit. Do you recommend trying lingam massage first on your own? Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not sure what your plans are beyond that, but yeah, definitely, practice on yourself first. I have a question about lust. How can I permanently destroy it from my life? You can't. As long as you're in a physical body, you're going to have a sex drive. The question is, do you allow it to control you or not? This is a problem that a lot of spiritual paths run into, is that this assumption that you can simply overcome, human nature, human experience. And that's why there's, this kind of history of gurus who came to America. They were, brahmacharyas, just like, oh, I'm perfect in my path. I would never have a sexual thought. And then they're in America. It's like anything goes. There's all these hot female followers following around. And, before I know it, they start having affairs with their followers. So the point I'm trying to make is that it's always going to be a part of your experience, the sexual desire. But what you can do instead of trying to destroy it is integrate it. This is essential. I'm actually making a video this week about integrating the heart center and the sexual center, because most people are disconnected. This is the problem here, right? Is like, a lot of spiritual people I meet, it's like, yeah, they're well established on a spiritual path, having the whole, Kundalini awakening, whatever. But at the same time, it's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde situation where it's like, oh, I'm in this high vibrational state, everything's one. Then, oh, I'm really horny, I'm gonna go hook up with someone, or I'm gonna, go on Pornhub and rub one out. So there's this split between your sexual nature and then your spiritual nature and other aspects. Well, again, part of sexual kung fu is integrating these together. Learn to connect and integrate that sexual energy with your heart center. And it lifts the vibration of it. When you wire your sexual center into the other areas of your body, instead of just trying to cut it off, now you become integrated. Now sex and sexual desire, it changes. It doesn't become about you being controlled by these impulses and just be like, oh, I just, want to have sex with everyone. It becomes more about this expansive, loving energy that's connected to your sexual energy. So sexual desire and love become connected, and they start to amplify. It raises the vibration and the experience of, sexual desire. So, that's what I promote. When you just try to suppress it, I've never seen any cases where it actually works in the long term. Why did you choose the word kung fu for your account? Okay, so sexual kung fu, I mean, it's a kind of a traditional Taoist thing. I'm not saying I'm a Taoist. I just, I like a lot of the Taoist philosophy and stuff. It's very grounded. Sexual kung fu, it's very appropriate because kung fu, by definition, people think it's martial arts, but kung fu simply means, basically, it's a discipline. It's skill attained over a period of time of consistent training. It's self-mastery, so it can apply to anything. So sexual kung fu is the skill or discipline in mastering sexual energy, sexual performance. So I really resonate with this idea of self-mastery, of training yourself, having a practice, like working hard, right? A lot of people are lazy. A lot of people, again, this instant gratification lifestyle we're conditioned into, just to be thought, have no original thoughts and just do whatever we're told. I like to go against that and develop self-mastery, to work every day to better myself, to improve my mind, improve my thoughts, improve my body, improve my ability to control the energy flow in my body, to have higher integration. So that's basically it. Uh, Here's an interesting question. After all these years of getting high on qigong practice, are you still sometimes surprised about new levels of bliss and altered states? Is there a limit to it? Oh yeah, there's always a higher level. I mean, we are our perception of the universe and our limited human senses, which have been further limited by the systematic poisoning of our air, food, and water. Fluoride in the water shuts down your brain. Makes me like, oh, well, it's on the news. I guess that's the truth. This is this. Basically, what I'm saying is that yes, there's levels of consciousness and experience that are we're just at the tip of the iceberg, and you start to unlock more of this when you do internal practices, when you meditate, or you take psychedelic substances. You're like, oh shit, there's like so much more out there. So yeah, I would say I'm still a beginner on my journey as far as like what levels of accomplishment there is based on what the ancient texts talk about. You know what I mean? So yes, there's always new levels that I'm hitting in my practice, new experiences of spiritual expansion, bliss, whatever altered states. Should I do qigong in the shower? No, you should not do qigong in the shower. You can focus on like clearing and stuff when you're in the shower. That's great, but water affects the flow of your qi differently. So if you're trying to cultivate qi and direct it in a certain way, build it in a certain way, the water is going to have a different effect on that. How often should I take pine pollen? Depends what your goals are. It depends on if you need it or not. If you already have like a high sex drive, high levels of testosterone, it could actually cause you imbalance. But if you're like low sexual vitality, feel like you're low testosterone, low energy, then take it every day, right? So there's no, this thing with supplements is like everything isn't good for everyone all the time. It's about balance. That's what herbalism is based on, balance. But our approach in our society is kind of like we have to take everything possible to just build, which can be a recipe for imbalance. So, if you're depleted, then yes, you should take things that build you up. But if you're already at like maximum energy, then you probably don't need supplements. Okay, what are your thoughts about coffee? Okay, my thoughts on coffee, how coffee affects sexual vitality and health in general. Um, it tends to overstimulate you. It affects different people differently. Like people who are a bit more heavy set in a bit more on the like the Ayurvedic doshas. I forget. More like the kapha type, I think, right? Then that type of person may benefit from caffeine. But someone like me, I'm very energetic, a bit spacey by nature. I tend to be a bit airy by nature. Caffeine really, really imbalances me personally. And caffeine pulls from your kidneys, pulls from the adrenals, releases cortisol in your blood, puts you in fight or flight state. So if you already, have a lot of stress in your life, if you're not sleeping well, if your sexual vitality is questionable and you're stimulating yourself with coffee, you're basically pulling from your reserves and it's going to burn you out. So if you need coffee to get going, then it means you're, probably a little adrenal depleted. So, yeah, I got off caffeine years ago. Actually what happened for me was from practicing qigong, I became so sensitive to how things were affecting my body that I used to love yerba mate, right? Well, I started drinking. I was like, oh, I'm just like overstimulated because like, oh, well, I'm getting my chi fix now, so I don't need these things anymore. So it's not like a huge deal, right? Obviously, there's worse things you can have than coffee and caffeine, but in general, if you're having more than 1 cup a day, it's probably, and again, if you rely on it to like feel awake in the morning, then you probably have a bit of burnout going on. So you may want to address this a bit more holistically. Guided meditation. Yeah, let's do a guided meditation. We'll do it in a little bit. All right. We'll do a little guided meditation together here. Okay. Have you tried using a prostate massager and do you recommend it? Yes, prostate massagers are fantastic. This is something that really unlocked deeper levels of sexual experience for me. I know that this is kind of a scary, shameful area for a lot of men. Like, oh, that'll make me gay. But like, there's my friend Cam Frazier. I saw his post. He was talking about this. It's like, if you're a man, you're by yourself. Anything you do by yourself is inherently, not sexual orientated in nature because it's just you, right? So basically the point is that, touching a certain area of your body, stimulating a certain area of your body does not affect your sexuality. Unless you're attracted to the opposite sex, then you are not, so this whole homophobia thing around it. So I kind of got to set it up with this, but basically, yes, prostate massages are amazing. They are probably, I would say, one of the number one tools for men who want to deepen their experience of sexuality, clear some sexual blockages from the body. First of all, prostate massages help you really, really become aware of tension patterns you're holding in the pelvic floor, because it's pretty obvious when things are being squeezed, when you got something up your butt, just straight up. So it really helped me release pelvic floor patterns. But the big thing is being able to experience what they call the super O orgasm, the prostate orgasm, which is one of the most intense experiences I've had in my life. Obviously one of the most intense orgasms, but one of the most intense experiences, period. It caused like this Kundalini type experience for me, the prostate orgasm. I talked about it in my video, prostate super O, whatever, but they're fantastic. Highly recommend them. Yes. 50% of men end up with prostate issues because men neglect this area of their body because they're afraid of it. So take care of it. Is it okay to ejaculate once a month or once every 3 months? Yeah. Once a month is a great kind of cycle for most men. Does pre-cum count as a release? No, you're not ejaculating semen. You're releasing the fluid that prepares. It's not any more of a loss than like blowing your nose is. Okay, I'm not sure what this is exactly in context of. I think it was when I was talking about lust, but this question is, wouldn't you still have those urges even if you focus your sexual energy on it? You're always going to have urges. This is the thing. It's not like you're ever going to reach the state where like, I never have any, no negative thoughts, no negative emotions arise, no urges arise. You're human. You're on planet Earth 2021. You're being bombarded with weird things 24/7. You're going to have urges. You're going to have these little emotional things come up, whatever. The question is, do you allow that urge to land on you and control you? Or do you say, oh, here's an urge. Okay, well, no thanks, right? Let's do something else with this energy. Let's circle this through my body. So that's self-mastery. No suppression required. It's just like, okay, I feel this urge. Let's feel it. What does that feel like? Oh, I feel this pressure. Okay, well, let's transform it into something a little more usable, right? This is the skill of sexual kung fu. What was the greatest lesson you've learned from semen retention practice? Good question. I would say, right now, this has been a big theme for me, and what I'm seeing a lot of people as well, is that ejaculation is not the enemy, and that over obsessing about semen retention actually becomes as harmful as, ejaculating every day. Because we have this tendency as humans to go from one extreme to the other. So in regards to semen retention, the extreme is, oh, I've been, masturbating to porn 3 times a day for 10 years. And then to go like, okay, well, I'm never, ever ejaculating again. And if I do, I failed. I'm a failure. It's a relapse, right? So we get this like negative self-talk about that, to where, sexual experiences and ejaculation become this horrible thing. We become traumatized by like, oh my God, I relapsed. I'm such a terrible person. So like all of a sudden you have all this, self-hatred and shame and guilt around something completely natural, right? So I think the most important point I can stress is that your number one goal should not be, it should not even be retention. Your number one goal should not be never ejaculating. Your number one goal should be to become very balanced, to gain more energy, to gain more clarity, more manifestation power, right? Semen retention alone is not going to do that. You must have a daily practice of balancing your mind and body, because when you build semen retention, you're just increasing your raw level of energy. It makes you more polarized. You have more polarized energy. So what happens if you hand Darth Vader all this extra sexual energy? He's going to become even more of an asshole, right? He's going to do some weird shit. So this is the thing with semen retention that, I see this over and over again. It makes you more of who you are. So if you're not doing any self-work, you're not opening your energy channels, circulating your energy, you're not sharing, giving back to the world, you're just hoarding all this energy inside of you and saying, I can never give this to anyone. And all the while you're becoming more angry, more irritable. Is that a good path? No. So the point, number one, it's about balance. It's not about going forever without ejaculating. It's what makes me feel more whole as a human? What gives me more energy, more balance, And if building up sexual energy does that, great. But there's usually a high level of, practice involved in keeping that energy balanced, keeping it circulating so you don't run into issues, right? So yeah, that's my big lesson I learned on senior attention. All right. Okay, that leads me to the next question here. What do you think about Nofap? I think that Nofap is it's great. It can be very beneficial, but it can also be very harmful for people as well, right? It's beneficial because I think this whole popularity of the NoFap movement is a great sign that men are starting to become conscious about, wow, being a porn addict and ejaculating every day is actually doing me a lot of harm. But the downside of NoFap is that most people doing NoFap, they never learn how to work with sexual energy. They don't learn any skill. They're just like, okay, well, it becomes a list of things I can't do anymore. Oh, can't have sex, can't touch my dick again, can't look at porn. And again, you get into this whole guilt and shame. And another issue here is that men on NoFap, they don't learn that they can have non-ejaculatory orgasms. Sex and self-pleasure is not a problem. It's actually extremely beneficial, but ejaculating frequently as a man, it depletes you, right? So being able to have regular sexual activity without ejaculating to develop, to cultivate that sexual energy and all the hormones that are released when you're having sex or self-pleasuring, it is extremely beneficial for you. And you don't get that doing NoFap. And another thing is that, again, most guys doing NoFap, maybe they do a year NoFap, whatever, but then they get into a relationship and they go back into these old sexual habits of ejaculating every time they have sex, trying to reenact their porn conditioned view of sex. So again, I think NoFap is a good sign, but it causes, for a lot of men, just causes more traumas and like body shame, body guilt. So, my path's a little bit different. It's not about suppressing anything. It's not about stopping anything. It's about how do you have sex? How do you experience sexuality in a way that actually boosts your energy, makes you more happy, gives you more, the good stuff in life. Okay, it's an interesting question here. You say that testosterone replacement therapy is instant gratification, but all the UFC fighters are on steroids. If the athletes at that level can take steroids, why can't average people take it? Well, I'm not saying look. I'm not saying what's right or wrong. I'm just saying this is what it is. It's instant gratification. If you want these guys as your role models, that's great. But do you think they're really the most happy, balanced, fulfilled people on the planet? I don't. I think that's very questionable. So, be careful who you choose to emulate. Right. What to do if you're adrenal depleted? So in Chinese medicine, the adrenals really, connected to the kidneys. Kidneys are basically the battery of our body, very much related to our sexual vitality. Kidneys like stillness, they like quietness, they like calmness, right? But this is, the opposite of how most things in our modern world are. We're burnt out, we're too stressed, we're too busy, too much to do, too much worry, too much fear. Fear burn, hurts the kidneys. So to rebuild the kidneys, to rebuild the adrenal energy, you need to rest. So making rest a priority, more calmness in your life, more quiet time, get out into nature, go sit under a tree, watch the clouds go by for an hour a day. Very helpful. Getting at least 8, maybe 9 hours of sleep if you're really depleted, right? You can make sure you clean up your diet, kidney building herbs, make sure you're getting your minerals. So foods with like zinc, magnesium, boron, selenium, iron. Some good kidney building foods are black sesame seeds. They're amazing. Pumpkin seeds, bone broth, bee pollen, things like that. You have to make sure you're not allergic to bee pollen first. Also, taking a Chinese herbal kidney yin formula is really beneficial. One of my favorites is called Shou Wu formulation from Dragon Herbs. But it might be good to see a naturopath or an acupuncturist if you can. They'll help you kind of create a good lifestyle for yourself to rebuild the adrenals. I would definitely recommend cutting all stimulants out, no alcohol, avoid refined sugar, and practicing qigong and meditation. Qigong is a great practice that will help you to kind of rebuild your core energy. I have a playlist on my YouTube channel, Sexual Kung Fu. Check out my qigong playlist. So hope that helps. Okay. Okay, this question, Ruben, I don't understand the cosmic wave very well. Can you explain in detail how energy moves and flows through your body while you breathe and exhale? What do you do with that energy once in your head? I'm not exactly sure the context of this question. Like this, is there a specific practice you're asking about? Because energy flows in a very complex way throughout the body. It's may or may not be related to your inhale and exhale. So it's kind of a vague question. I'm not exactly sure the context. So if you could clarify a bit more, I might be able to answer this better. Okay, so you're practicing sexual kung fu for about a month with your partner. With breathing techniques after sex, sometimes you get slight blue balls trying to creep in. What can you do? Okay, so blue balls during sex, it's a sign of stagnation. You And there's going to be an adjustment period when you begin having non-ejaculatory sex to where your body has to be able to adjust to this higher level of sexual energy because you're used to just blowing it out of your body every time. So inevitably you're going to experience blue balls at some points, but the remedy to this is to prevent it from becoming stagnant in the first place. So make sure you're doing unaroused practices every day, you're working with a microcosmic orbit, doing qigong, keeping the pathways open and clear so that when you're having sex, you can freely circulate that energy throughout your body. So make sure you're doing, testicle breathing, orgasmic breathing throughout sex, continuously drawing that energy out of your genitals. And another important thing is not squeezing the pelvic floor a lot during sex. If there's a lot of tension in your pelvic floor, this tends to cause blue balls as well. So, but again, it's just a matter of training, consistency, and over time, as your channels open up more, you'll be able to, have sex for longer periods of time, draw more energy upwards, and avoid having blue balls. Should I only drink water? Um, it's the best thing to drink. Clean water, unfluoridated water. Don't drink tap water. Get a high quality filter. Reverse osmosis or distiller, or find spring water. Right. So yeah, first and foremost, you should be drinking lots of water. But you can also, drink some herbal teas, fruit juices, whatever. But yeah, you should primarily be drinking water. Is masturbation bad for mental health? It depends how you're masturbating. This, you could be, there's quite a difference between sitting at your computer watching some weird like BDSM porn, for 3 hours a day, just jerking off stiff in a chair. There's a huge difference between that and having like a tantric masturbation session where you're like opening your heart, you're giving yourself self-love, you're slowly arousing energy, breathing it through your body, circulating it, storing the charge in your body without ejaculating. These are two completely different things. So saying, is masturbation bad for mental health? Well, how are you masturbating, right? So yes, it could be bad for your mental health if you're, more the first version that I talked about. But if you're using it in a more holistic way, in the sexual kung fu approach, no, it's actually extremely beneficial for your mental health. Sexual pleasure is, it's important for us. Orgasm is essential for our DNA to stay healthy, for our cells to be able to multiply properly. We need sexual orgasm. It regulates the hormones in our body, keeps us young, right? So it's extremely important for your mental health to have sexual fulfillment. Oh boy, here we go. Okay, do you think that the deaths of the people who died after taking the whammy are suspicious? Yes, they're extremely suspicious. But we all knew this was going to happen, right? Those of us who are following this, it's a uh, you know, maybe part of the depopulation agenda, right? I was talking to one of my teachers a few days ago, and he's really following this stuff and said that all the, certain little animals they tested these things on, they all died. Of course, they fabricated results, and I wouldn't put this in my body under any circumstance. This whole medical fascism thing rolling out, it's very suspicious. It's a very obvious thing if you look back on history, what's going on right now. So do not put this thing in your body. I would starve before I put it in my body. So, be careful out there, guys. Okay, say down the line, I actually want to have a child in the future, and I've been holding my seed for maybe 3 years. Would I lose my benefits? Um, Are you worried about ejaculating after 3 years? You're not gonna like. Okay, so this is a good point of the over obsession of semen retention. It's not like you lose everything once you ejaculate. It doesn't work like that. If it was like that, then you'd probably die after an ejaculation. It's not like that big of a deal. It's just ejaculating every day. Yes, it depletes you, but if you're ejaculating once every 3 years, you're not losing much. That's the thing is like this whole obsessive approach of semen retention, like where you become a hypochondriac about it. It's about balance, about regulation. So yeah, 3 years, like first of all, I don't recommend going 3 years without ejaculating. You're probably going to experience some atrophy in your endocrine system. So it's all about balance, guys. Is running the microcosmic orbit while having sex with a partner any different to running it in solo cultivation? Well, as far as like the technique, no, it's the same. But running it with a partner, it's different because now you're in a relationship. Your systems are wired together. Their energies fusing with your energy, and now it's an exchange running through your orbit. So it creates kind of a higher vibrational energy. Really, it's a little more refined. You exchange your energy together. You can run your orbits together, and it's extremely powerful. What's the best way to interpret your dreams? It's really up to you. You can get these like dream interpretations and things, but it's really up to you to kind of decipher what your dreams mean to you. How does the semen reabsorb back into your body? From what I understand, it's not always reabsorbed. The body tends to release because, the thing is on semen retention, it's not like you have the semen forever. It eventually dies and, your body's still producing new semen, which is why I actually recommend ejaculating after a certain period of time. It kind of helps clear things out and stimulates your endocrine system to keep your hormone levels healthy, basically, right? But um, yeah, so when you're retaining semen, the life cycle of a sperm is about 60 days. It matures in about 60 days, I think. How long do they actually live? Not much longer than that, I believe. And so the sperm are constantly dying, and the body urinates them out. You release them in a wet dream, or they are reabsorbed into the blood. So that's, basically that's what happens. What do you think about the opening of the stomach, larger intestine, whole digestive system in relationships to sex, health, and spirituality? Well, your stomach, your lower, center is extremely important because it's your center. It's the center of your being. It's your digestion space, right? A lot of people who I've seen on the spiritual path, they're very ungrounded. They're very actually disconnected. They're kind of like from the heart up, they're wide open, but like the lower centers tend to be a bit neglected. Because this whole kind of like heaven earth split, like I don't want to be on earth anymore. I want to be out in heaven. So this kind of transcendental approach to spirituality. So that leads to people who are not in their power. They're unable to manifest abundance in their life. They're disconnected from their sexuality and things like that. So yeah, that's why in Taoist practice, they start with the lower center. They start with the Dantian, the lower energy center in the body, working with the lower centers, building that first, because that is really your power space. The solar plexus, the navel, the dantian, these are your power centers. So when you cultivate this first, you have a safe foundation which you can build upon with your practice. It's like, a lot of spiritual paths, it's like you start with the crown, start with the third eye. But this is, often a very unbalanced approach that leads to instability. It's like trying to build a house from the roof down. You need a grounded foundation to build upon. Otherwise, you'll get into some high spiritual states, but they won't be sustainable. You'll fall back down and be stuck in the material world again, right? So it's like when you work with the lower centers first, and then you build up from there, you have a solid ground and foundation to hold these higher, states of consciousness without falling back down. Is a whole body organism, I think you're trying to say orgasms, whole body orgasm more pleasurable than ejaculation in the moment? Yes. Overall, I mean, in my experience, it has been because it's a full body orgasm. Ejaculation is just like all this pleasure concentrated into 5 seconds, and it's leaving your body. It's very fleeting, and then it's like, oh shit, well, that's over. Can't do that again. Versus the whole body orgasm, where it's the pleasure's a bit dispersed. So it's not as intense in the beginning, but as you grow it, as you build it, as you're able to hold higher and higher levels of energy, it becomes, far, far, far beyond what you experience in an ejaculation. How about matcha? Doesn't raise my cortisol levels the same way coffee does. Also do the theanine. I can't do any caffeine. Green tea, that was kind of, I went from drinking coffee in my early 20s to drinking like yerba mate. Then yerba mate was too much for me. I switched to green tea. I was doing like sencha, dragon well, but even that is too much for me. It's too stimulating. I have a very, very, very sensitive system now for my, daily practice. So for most people, green tea's fine, matcha, but for me, it's too stimulating. I can't sleep at night if I have caffeine. So okay, how I quit drinking alcohol. How was that? Yeah, so I quit drinking alcohol. This is again like talking about how for my practice I stopped, drinking caffeine. The same thing with alcohol. I loved drinking when I was, in my teenage years, in my early 20s. Actually, by the time I was 21, I was about getting burnt out on it. But I still drank, alcohol in my early 20s. And by doing qigong, once qigong meditation, I became very, very sensitive, and ultimately I realized like, wow, when I drink alcohol, I actually feel like shit. Like my body feels stiff. It really like lowers my intelligence. I just say stupid things, and there's really no benefit to it. I feel like shit the next day. Like why am I doing this? And I stopped drinking alcohol. That was like 6-7 years ago. Haven't had a single drink since, and I have no desire to. I would probably never drink alcohol in my life again. It's, in my opinion, it's a vile poison. But if you enjoy it, it's fine. But anyways, that's my alcohol quitting story. All right. What do you think of the idea that one should not cut one's hair? Beard is optimum for your health, such as yogis and Sikhs. I don't know. I'm not, I used to have really long hair. I had hair like down to my waist almost, like, when I was kind of a hippie, right? I cut it off. I didn't notice any difference. So, it's anything you can cultivate, right? If you want, better health, you want higher spiritual connection, you can cultivate with practice. It's not like growing your hair is going to do it for you. So, you know, can Qigong help you heal from an STD? Asking for a friend. Depends what the STD is. In general, Qigong, yes, can greatly improve your immune system, greatly improve your health, but you may want to have some other, backup things as well with this. I can't, talk on this experience. I've never had an STD. Okay, quick thing you can do to last longer, your first round, and should we go 3 rounds? I'm guessing you're talking about sex. The simple thing is deep, slow breathing and relaxing your mind and body. Stay relaxed because your breath and your arousal level are very much connected. As you become more aroused, there's tendency for men to tense up and breathe from the chest. So you relax, release the tension to avoid getting that sympathetic fight or flight response, which triggers ejaculation. Breathe deeply and slowly and let that be kind of a container to hold higher levels of arousal. How do you protect yourself from EMF radiation? Certain stones. I've got some shungite right here. Shungite is amazing. I've got a bunch of it actually. Here's got another one. Shungite, it's a stone. It's fairly inexpensive. Shungite. Shungite is a stone. I saw a study where I think they did it in Russia where they took they had like a television. It's emitting EMF. They put a large shungite stone next to it and it reduced the EMF output by like 85%, I think. So shungite, organite's amazing as well. This is, a synthetic thing that you can make. It's basically epoxy resin, different crystals, stones with kind of alchemical properties that reduce EMF and put out negative ions, things like this. I make these myself, but you can look that up. So organite, black tourmaline, Shungite, keep these around your house, put them around routers, your phone. Never have your cell phone on in your pocket. Turn it off, at the very least put it on airplane mode. What is my religion? I'm not religious. A lot of religions are control systems. I'm very spiritual, but you shouldn't need, someone in between you and your creator, the source, the original creators of our soul, the original creator of our soul. I'm not into religions personally. It's been a large control system for humans. With the prostate massager, is the goal to ejaculate or just to experience the orgasm without ejaculation? Curious about the context. Well, it depends on what your goals are with it. Everyone's going to do it differently, but prostate massage, first of all, it's extremely beneficial for the health of your prostate. No, in general, the goal is not to ejaculate, because you can have prostate orgasms, which are non-ejaculatory. They're full body orgasms. They're mind-altering, consciousness-expanding orgasms. They're absolutely crazy. Yeah, that was my goal. And also releasing tension from the pelvic floor. Will prostate massage help with risks of prostate issues? Yes, definitely. Again, it's use it or lose it. Massage your prostate, keep it healthy, and it'll be healthy. Does it come in a discreet box? I live with family. Usually these things do. You can look on the site where you're ordering it from. I like the Aneros products, Aneros. I believe they come in discreet boxes, but usually they say on the website. Is it possible for a man to be with a woman without having strong feelings for her, but because she's good for you and you know how to value that? Sure, but like the question is, why do you not want to have strong feelings with a woman you're with? Or are you saying like you don't have an intense attraction, but you want to be with her? I'm not sure the context of that. Do I believe in God? I believe that we were all created by a creator. It's very obvious, by, it's like Western science, like everything's random. There's no purpose to anything. We have no soul. Okay, everything just happened to fall into this incredibly complex, coherent system where everything's connected to everything, through certain geometric and mathematical laws. So obviously we are a conscious creation. So yes, I believe that there's a creator, you can call it God, source consciousness, whatever. So yes, I believe that there's, we're all part of this kind of cosmic organism. We're all kind of cells in a greater mind, and that reality is kind of this, what we call reality is really it's a simulation. We're kind of playing a game. We projected our consciousness into these vessels, these meat suits that hold our consciousness to kind of put some limitations on ourselves and have some fun. Do you think some celebrities are using these sort of practices? I can't say. I don't really follow celebrities. I'm sure there's some who are, but a lot of them are using more dark things, we could say, or not necessarily by choice, but because what's running Hollywood, weird, old, dark forces. Conservative or liberal. Isn't it funny how we put these little, like, oh, you can either be this or that. Whenever you associate with something, like, oh, well, I'm a Christian and I'm liberal and I'm, we've been conditioned to have this belief system, this because it puts us into, oh, I'm on the left, oh, I'm on the right. And then you fight each other. You're like, oh, I don't believe, I encourage you to release these labels. The more labels you have on yourself, the more contracted you become, the less able you are to be more fluid. If you identify as a conservative or liberal, it's just this polarity game. It's all a control system, right? I'm not conservative. I'm not liberal. I simply am a unique person. Try to stay a bit on a neutral point so I don't get pulled into these different directions, right? You have to be able to think for yourself. Most people, again, as I was talking about at the beginning of this video, we're trained not to think for ourselves. We're trained to be slaves to other people's agenda. This whole control system on the planet was created to put us into these things so that we put these labels on ourselves so that we're fighting everyone else, divide and conquer. If you're single, is it better to practice recirculating energy by yourself and not sleep with women until you master recirculating? Because if you don't, you will ejaculate. That was my preferred approach, was to first train myself, be able to do this by myself, so that when I got into a relationship, I had all the skill developed. But you can do it however you want. If you're already in a relationship, you can start to learn this stuff. But yeah, I think if you're not in a relationship right now and you want to learn this stuff, it's best to kind of like, okay, I'm not going to date for a little while. I'm just going to focus on practicing sexual kung fu, developing my skill. Then when I get into a relationship, I'm going to have all this amazing sexual energy. I'll probably attract a much better partner, and I'll be an amazing partner, be able to have amazing sex. So it's my approach. Does testicle breathing make your body tingle? Yeah, it certainly can. Most energetic practices can, cause this. Okay. Do you have any tips about getting over breakups? Heard you talk about your terrible breakup. I was in almost a 2-year relationship, and it's somewhat in my face, but not as bad as it was for you. Yeah, difficult breakups. First thing, I think it's important, it's difficult to kind of, feel this in the moment, but when we look back on our lives, when we look back on the experiences we consider very negative, difficult experiences, these were actually our greatest teachers, right? And so this is a difficult concept for a lot of people to accept. Understand that maybe you created this situation for yourself because your soul needed to grow in a certain direction that you couldn't have grown if you stayed in this, kind of comfortable relationship, but maybe, obviously it wasn't serving you on some level. So understand that this is a transition and an opportunity for you to seek greater alignment, greater harmony, greater balance, greater connection, and become a greater version of yourself. And so it takes, this is the difference between something bad happens to you, because nothing's ever inherently bad or good. We give our own definition to things, but when something that is difficult for you in the moment arises, you can either kind of shut down, play the victim, be like, this is horrible, this is terrible, or you can say, okay, it's difficult, but this is an opportunity for me to grow and to learn, And as far as, the more practical steps of dealing with this, doing internal work, internal energy practices, the best time to do them is right now. Keep your energy flowing, practice qigong, practice meditation, find new things to put your time, your energy, and creativity into. You find some sort of creative outlet so that you can kind of alchemize maybe some of the pain you're feeling and turn it into something beautiful, turn it into a new creation. Most artists don't create when they're happy and joyous. They're usually creating after a great loss, right? So allow this to kind of alchemize into something more positive, right? Do the self-work, go through your healing, but don't let it bog you down. How often should you practice tantric masturbation? I don't know, as often as you want, really. Every day. Obviously, you don't want to be like spending all day every day doing it. But as long as you feel balanced, you don't feel like you're getting overstimulated from hot, young sexual energy. As a man, you need to balance it with other things. But in general, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes a day, a few times a week is fine. Okay, when I'm doing Wim Hof breathing, after a while, I start to feel pain in my upper back. Is this because I'm holding something in that part of my body? It could be. I don't know. Maybe you're, maybe about bad posture. Maybe you're laying on a rock when you do it. I can't say. I don't know enough about the circumstances, but yeah, it could be a sign of a blockage. Okay, two questions, basically the same. How often should a man ejaculate? My understanding now is that trying to go forever without ejaculating can be as harmful as ejaculating every day, because things become stagnant. That's typically what happens. Unless you're like a serious, high level practitioner. If you're going like more than like, a month, 2 months, 3 months, probably, I would say the most 2 or 3 months. If you're going beyond that, you're probably going to have some issues being stagnant. The endocrine system starts to atrophy. I've seen a lot of studies showing that testosterone actually starts to plummet after, 2 months or so. So Personally, after experimenting with long thing, I used to do the super long turn, I'm never going to ejaculate again. That used to be my approach, but I found that actually quite imbalancing. So for me now, overall, what makes me feel the best, the highest energy, the most happy, the most joyous, of course, it's a little different when you're in a relationship and you're having sex regularly as well, which I am now. So overall, for me, ejaculating once every 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks is for me what makes me feel the best. And that's what works for me. I'm about to lose my Instagram feed. I will pull it back up. One second, guys. I'm going to pull my Instagram feed back up. All right. So yeah, in general, ejaculation timelines. If you're completely new to this, if you don't have any daily practice, you're not doing qigong, you're not doing meditation, then once a week is probably a good amount. Maybe 2 weeks. Beyond that, in general, for most men, probably once a month, 2 times a month. In general, the Taoist thing is like one guy said twice a month is optimal. Whatever. For me, it's more like once a month. So, but in general, this requires you getting to know your own body. In general, if you ejaculate and you feel completely wiped out, you feel depressed, fatigued the next day, then you should probably go for longer. Likewise, if you're retaining your semen, you start to feel really irritable, really angry, excessively horny, insomnia, heart pounding all the time, then it's probably time for you to let go a bit of that yang. It's all about balance. It's really about balance. Do you know anything about your past life and what it means to your current incarnation? Yeah, I mean, I've gone into my past lives. There's a lot of, I'm not really going to go into that stuff because it's really not important. The past is an illusion. Everything happens simultaneously. And the only thing that really matters is what's happening right here, right now. So when you're dwelling on, I know some people who are just like, they're so obsessed with their past lives. Like, oh, this is all because of my past life. This terrible situation. Oh, well, it's karma from my past life. And you start to give this power to, something else, which often is just an illusion. So the only thing that matters is what's here and now. Do you think it's better to practice qigong in the deep forest or at home? I mean, it's always better to practice in nature if the weather's nice, but it doesn't, wherever you can practice qigong is great. Where to get shungite? Just look it up. I bought some off eBay in bulk. I got like I got like 10, 15 pounds of shungite because I want to put it all over my house. Just look it up. You'll be able to find shungite. What is the true meaning of being a multi-orgasmic man, and what do you think the percentage is? The meaning of being a multi-orgasmic man is being a man who can have an orgasm after orgasm after orgasm. And my definition is being able to have non-ejaculatory orgasms, being able to orgasm without ejaculating, because it's difficult to have multiple orgasms when you're ejaculating. But the percentages, I don't know, not much. I think there's a fair amount of men who are naturally multi-orgasmic. I actually, when I first started masturbating, I was like 13 years old. I had dry orgasms, probably because my body, wasn't quite producing sperm yet or something. I don't know. But for the first year of masturbating, I was having dry orgasms. What was your goal before you started semen retention, and how many days did you take to achieve it? Well, when I started semen retention, my goal wasn't even semen retention. My goal was to be able to have non-ejaculatory orgasms and to develop my chi, develop my energy. So semen retention wasn't the priority. And I think that's why it was so easy for me to make semen retention lifestyle, because it was like, okay, for me, it was like, I went 3 days without ejaculating. I'm like, that's a huge win. That's awesome. That's enough for me. But as I was learning to have non-ejaculatory orgasms, channel sexual energy through my body, it was like, wow, ejaculating actually doesn't feel that good. It's actually kind of a letdown, because before the ejaculation, I feel so much better. I feel so much more energy, all this desire, and channeling that through my body feels great. And then I release it, and it feels like I've lost something. So this naturally allowed me to practice semen retention without being obsessive about it, because it was just natural. Can you still hold your seed if your partner gives you head? Yes, it's just ejaculation control training. Sometimes it can be more stimulating, but you can do it. If you are married, how often should you ejaculate, and how often do you ejaculate with your partner? Depends. Okay, so ejaculation frequency depends on age, depends on your health. Some figures I've seen is if you're 20 years old, you can ejaculate every 4 or 5 days without depletion. If you're 30, it's more like 6 or 7 days. If you're 40, it's like, I think 2 weeks or something like that. So it's kind of like bare minimum how long you should go for your age. So you can use that as a reference. If you're practicing sexual kung fu, though, this is extremely beneficial because when you learn the techniques for drawing sexual energy through your body when you're aroused, you're effectively kind of pulling out the essence of the sperm. You're storing that energy in your body so that if you do ejaculate, you're actually not losing much. A lot of students who take my course, they say, wow, after learning the sexual kung fu, when I do ejaculate, it doesn't even feel like I've ejaculated. So this is what happens when you practice sexual kung fu. So yeah, hope that helps. Should you do qigong before or after working out? I wouldn't do it right after a workout because you're going to be a bit wiped out. But for me personally, I do my main practice in the morning. I do about 2 hours of practice in the morning, and when I go to the gym, it's usually right after that. I go to the gym after that, do my workout, and then I'll do more practice in the evening. So I don't know. It might be better to do qigong before your workout if you're going to do it like right next to each other. But if you work out in the morning and you do qigong in the evening, you'll probably be fine. All right, guys. I'm gonna wrap it up. Thanks everyone for joining. Good to be back here with you guys. I'll be here same time next week, and I think that's about it. Yeah. Oh, all right. Last question. Is there something special that happens in the 90 to 100 semen retention period? I've heard that should be a goal. For me, the benefits plateau about 30 days. I don't feel much different. Now it's about 2 weeks. After 2 weeks of retention, it's like honestly now, because my practice is pretty strong. So when I occasionally ejaculate, within like 3 or 4 days, I'm back at like 100%. And it just is at that level for however long I want to go. So 90 to 100 days, you can try it. But for me, again, when I went 3 months, it was like nothing really changed after the first month. So, and usually what happens is, there's kind of this myth that the longer you go, the more benefits there are. It's not really true. In the beginning, it often is, because when you're coming into it from a place of depletion, it takes some time to rebuild that energy. But once you've rebuilt it, you can actually ejaculate more frequently if you want, and you won't be as depleted. But of course, having sexual kung fu sex is a completely different aspect of this, because you're drawing this energy, and you can actually ejaculate without losing energy if you really want to. You can pull the energy out of the semen, basically store it in your body, so you're kind of shooting on an empty shell. So there's a lot of factors to this, but again, that's my advice is, if you feel good, if you're doing semen retention, you feel good, that's great, keep going. But if you're not feeling good, you're angry, you're irritable, you're sexually frustrated, things feel stuck, your dick stopped working, like you said, then yeah, there's some issues here, and you want to look at that. So, all right, guys, take care. Keep your minds focused on the positive. Oh, we're going to do a meditation. I completely forgot. We're going to wrap this up. We're all going to meditate together. All right. Don't leave. Don't bail out. This is time to do the work, guys. We're going to do a little meditation. We're going to bring some light to this planet. All right. So let's sit, stand, whatever you're doing, lay down, whatever. Just bring your awareness into your body. Take a deep breath. Exhale. And now feel like you're kind of pulling your energy field back around your body just to feel the space around your body, maybe filling the room, just kind of consolidating your energy around you. And then feel that your heart, you can place a hand on your heart. Feel that your heart is glowing. It's like a sun, it's this burning flame. It's your true essence in your heart. Start to feel the feeling of compassion, of love, of joy. Just remember a time in your life when you felt this way and just anchor that feeling in your body while feeling your heart space, breathing into it. I feel like this light's starting to glow and shine. It's radiating out into the world around you. And then let's connect down to the center of the earth. So feel this sun in your heart's connecting down to the center of the earth, and there's another sun shining there. And then feel like energy starting to spiral up from the center of the earth, up into your heart center. So you're connecting to the center of the earth. And then feel like this pillar of light's emitting. So now you're emitting up from your heart, through your head, through the crown, out to the center of the galaxy, the galactic sun. And it's the spiral. It's spiraling this energy. It's like you're a pillar of light. It's spiraling up from the earth into your heart, into the center of the galaxy. This is our true nature, our true multidimensional nature. Humans are a bridge between heaven and earth. We're an intermediary between these form and formless forces. And they'll send this light out to the planet. So feeling that heart space, love, joy, see that radiating out from your body. Filling your house, sending it to your loved ones, your family, your friends. Sending it out to your community, your city, the place you live. See it just like this shining light, just filling that whole area. And then see that radiating out to the entire planet. We're beaming some light to the entire world. Sending it to North America, radiating into South America, radiating to Europe, radiating into Africa, Asia, Australia. See the whole world. You're connected to the earth. You're anchored to the galactic core, and you're radiating this charge of energy out to the entire world, lighting it up. And then see yourself living the life you truly want to live. Imagine heaven on earth on this planet. What does that mean to you? Imagine a world of joy, a world of abundance, no more competition, no more ego gratification, but a world where we truly share what we have with others, where everything is in abundance. All this control system bullshit is gone, and just love, abundance, free energy, swim in the ocean with dolphins, Tesla towers, broadcasting free energy worldwide. No more Babylonian money magic making us all slaves in debt. And then just coming back to the space of your heart, feeling a sense of gratitude and knowing that you have the power to anchor this light on the planet, to create as you desire the world around you, to radiate out this joy. No longer focusing on fear, no longer focusing on anxiety, on self-doubt, trying to control others, trying to be better than others, but radiating this pure awareness of light, love. This is your true source, your true essence. And let's just see how long we can hold the space as you go back into your world, go back into your life. All right, guys. Thank you for meditating with me. I will be back next week. Same thing. And take it easy, guys. Wishing you the best. Careful what you put in your bodies out there.